So I'm just I was shuffling this new deck of cards. Oh, I guess I should share. Let's see. Yeah, I can. Okay. So this deck came from our lovely friends at the Noon Goddess, which is a boat that lives on the Nile River. It was absolutely amazing luxury living experience in water. And I don't remember the story about how they know the person that created this deck, but they were available for sale on there's a little gift shop on the boat, and it's called the Fembot Oracle, the Neo Heart, and it's a deck about alchemy, creativity, and emergence. And it's been a really powerful deck so far. I'm still new to um, playing with it, but the other theme is free body, still mind, wild heart. I just noticed on the outside of the box. So, brand new deck, just shuffling it, and a bunch of stuff fell out in the frequency of calling in the Galactic Children. I thought this was an interesting combination here, so I wanted to share. We have power, discernment, and the wild one.
Ooh. Power, discernment, and the wild one's nice.
Yes, as well as a whole other pile of alignment, accuracy, time space, resourcefulness, and loss. I'm hearing the perception of loss. So in the light of our own up leveling through the process that we're seeing unfold before us, hearing the importance of staying in your power with your discernment and in that frequency of play, your wild heart, uh, with like alignment and accuracy feels like a key, the time space key I'm hearing.
Time, space, key. I'm going to write that down. That kind of hits. Yeah, I like that you're over outside where there is the fountain, which has been featured on many a call that we've had, and there's always like kids around, and there's always like it's so fun, and often cold when it's hot outside, so it's nice to have that kind of like play and fun frequency weaving into our call today.
Yeah, thought it would be a good location. One of the favorite places after off. Oh no! Oh no! I just lost a bunch of cards. The wind blew. Hold on. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah. Hopefully the sprinklers don't get you
Oh
anytime
my
soon.
gosh. Yeah, that's one that hasn't happened yet. Okay. Okay, where'd all the cards go? Oh my gosh, they're everywhere.
I like your shawl too. That shawl reminds me of Tatiana because I remember that she had given it to you, and it's just a really cool, fun little piece to wear.
Yeah, thank you. I thought so too. So what's interesting is the cards that flew into the flower bed over here were loss and grace. So grace through the perception of loss that gets us to the other side of finding those parts of us that are ready to be found and integrated.
Yeah, that kind of hits. I was having a conversation earlier um, with someone, and we were talking about, leading up to 9/9, how there's been this frequency of like closing out timelines and collapsing, and in that process, there has been some loss of like people that were like, pretty aligned people at one point in our lives, and that dual frequency of loss plus grace, I think is like very, very important. Yeah, JJ talks about this too, where it's like, yeah, why do things have to kind of be so, not nice at the end, when it's like when we have fulfilled our contracts or our agreements or whatever it was that we decided we were going to work on together, and we move on, could we do that with like love in our heart and holding each other in like high esteem, instead of having to kind of, go the other route, which isn't as aligned.
That's a great point. And I think a good reminder, it's a good reminder too, if it's about like just how unity consciousness works. Um, because we've talked before about, and JJ's mentioned too, um, about how the way we interact with each other changes as the unity field stabilizes, because we come to realize that there is no separation. We're all one in the larger grand scheme of things, and we can still interact with each other in the field. And so, um, allowing those shifts happen naturally, um, and have the grace to flow is what I'm hearing, to allow for the highest alignment. So it's interesting, I was thinking, um, while I was driving over to where I am, just like about the theme of the call for today, and about pre-gridding for the Galactic Historians Conference, and where it's landing physically is, I mean, I can't tell you specifically where in either Australia or New Zealand like JJ's gonna be um, when she physically, facilitates the call for this conference, and which is the end of a three-part series. But it got me thinking about not only the three-part series, but for those that don't know, JJ was also in Australia and New Zealand around this time last year. And so it has me thinking about cycles, and um, like all that's happened in each of our fields and lives in the last 1 year of linear time. And I know for me, there's been a lot of transformation, a lot of learning, um, a lot of expansion, and a lot of integration. And so I'd love for everyone to just take a moment and just take a little mental inventory really quickly of like looking back into the last year. have been the highlights for you in your growth process? Um, any shifts or transformations that you've made in your life? How you relate to things differently? Maybe how you relate to grieving differently than you did, back in those days. It sounds so silly saying it like that. Back in my day. But there have been so many like things that have lit up for me as I've, done different gritting and different play and different activities with different friends, different groups of, astral research and different dynamics. And there's definitely some like water family kind of vibes for me, as it feels like a coming together of like all the records in a way, all the records across all of the water templates, all of the mineral kingdom templates. It's like as we progress along our path, we reawaken things and awarenesses within us that then shift our frequency and how we're expressing into the world, which then up levels the environments around us, the people around us, the rocks we have in our pockets, for example. Um, and the water plays a big part in that, because water is not only everywhere, but it's also, 80% of you is water. And so thinking about it from that perspective as well, how have your journeys and your adventures been up leveling you? And just taking a moment to take stock of that, I think is really important as we close out this chapter, because it helps us anchor in a sense of gratitude for like truly how far we've come. And there's something about coming full circle with, how do I say it? It's almost like coming full circle with those parts of us. Because if you think about the version of you that was doing XYZ, whatever, 1 year ago today, for example, I don't know about anybody listening, but for me, that's a completely different version of myself. And so I'm just imagining like what a conversation between the me of today and the me of that day might look like.
Yeah, I love that you expressed that. Hey Christina, welcome in. Christina just said, "Hey guys, didn't realize JJ was there this time last year. Funny that after reading Telegram message about the Galactic Children, I started looking through pictures with my son and kept finding myself enjoying photos from this time last year. This year, when looking back into it's difficult to conceive of how much has happened in 1 year's time. Coming full circle. LOL, totally! Exclamation point. Side note: my sister's place is called the Full Circle Farm. Whoa.
Oh, interesting. Full circle farm. the the image that I'm seeing, just thinking about this term that you brought. And by the way, thank you for being here. Thank you for your input. And full circle farm. I'm seeing all the different versions of myself on a farm. Like I'm a little llama over here, and I'm a little goat over there, and maybe there's a giraffe on my farm. Okay, all the different versions of me as different animals on the farm. That's really cute. um, yeah, I remember. So when I first started hanging out with Michael, he was telling me stories from their trip from Australia and New Zealand from last year. And he was telling me how beautiful it was. They were in Byron Bay. I'm not exactly sure what their travel itinerary is like for this time, or if they're going back to some of the same places, or what's happening there. But um, I'm feeling some downloads coming in about coming full circle with these stories because there's been lots of recognitions and awarenesses light up about records, like just okay, back to the theme of thinking back on the let's thinking back on the themes from from this past year, because Christine is right, like it's a lot to fathom all the different things that have transpired and everything that we've done because we're so multidimensional. By the way, we're so awesome, you guys. Thank you for being here and for listening to this because I just absolutely love everything that we're doing. It's really
Yeah,
lighting
we
up the
are.
field. I know.
Yeah, we are.
But I keep coming back to this idea about the records because it's like hmm, it's like we know that we've done this stuff before, but like there's a part of the process that like fully completes and seals as we update the records as we go along. And that's not always something that we're like thinking about or completely conscious of. But there's parts of us that I feel like are kind of assigned to helping us remember that little detail. And the reason I say that is because I was on an astral adventure with a team from Europe, and this was maybe right around a year ago, give or take. It was sometime in the fall, and we were following a golden like song line basically on the planet, and we followed it kind of all the way around her, not exactly around the equator. It like had its different stops that we made, like different nodes along the way, and like one was in, I think, Tahiti, and one was in South Africa somewhere, and then there were like five others. Um, and I don't remember if it was Byron Bay or Castle Hill that was one of these stops that we made to just kind of harmonize and do a little bit of energetic adjustment in those locations to free up space for the amplification of the expansion of the golden consciousness that was like really coming to anchor more deeply. And part of what we saw during this process is there was like a nuclear testing facility like all the way on the other side of Australia, like on the west side. And the story that we got from it was that essentially um, something about like it was like a mermaid. It was like a mermaid that stepped forward, and she was like a record keeper, and she was like telling us the story of what happened. And she like basically said that at some point some energy came along to like disrupt um their community for whatever reason. And so the nuclear testing facility was essentially changing the vibration and the frequency of the land in that area in order to disrupt like their norm essentially. And the story that we got was like how devastating it ended up being to the mer community, and that it ended up they had to like there were a number of record keepers that decided that it was in their people's best interest for them to sort of split up and take cover in different parts of the world, but keep different parts of the records so that one day when the time was right and the alignment was in place, then they could come together and have like a full recognition planet wide and remembrance of like kind of this bigger picture story. And so I've had it in my head ever since then that that's like kind of part of our secret mission is bringing all the record keepers back together, but also bringing all of the like mermaid communities back together, and um, just really been seeing a lot of like reunion energy, like family reunion kind of energy, but also like kind of graduation kind of energy. It's like coming into celebration of, the remembrance of coming back home in a way, like a homecoming. And as I think back on the themes of the year overall, I mean, it's things like unwinding all the things that haven't served us as a collective, and that can those can be pretty big, and that's why it's been so abstract, I think, is because it's easy to get in the mental body about what it is, and how to go about doing it, and it's meant to be fun, and so that's why we're just like guided to listen to our inner calling, and so we can stay in that fun frequency about it. But it's themes of like coming to terms with our origins, coming to terms with our technology, um, coming to terms with our social and economic beliefs, coming to terms with religion, like of all kinds, and what effects that has had on us as a people, and really taking stock of what's important and what's maybe no longer as important as we thought it once was. And kind of, we've been discussing this theme of like extraction, because sometimes we get, it's easy to throw around the kind of the buzzwords that we talk about often, and like closing and collapsing timelines, and shifting our awarenesses. And sometimes it's not always about like just the closing and collapsing, because maybe not everything is meant to be like fully eliminated. Maybe not everything is meant to be recycled. Maybe there's parts that are meant to be um, disentangled and untwined, and uh, just like repurposed in different ways. And so maybe you have this one storyline that affects 100,000 timelines, and it's not all meant to be just completely gone away. And so we're picking apart the pieces. We're kind of dismantling those energies and frequencies that make up that overall thing. And maybe it's about recycling some parts of it, eliminating other parts, and really extracting the parts that we want to take with us forward, and eliminating or dissolving, the rest. And so it's been quite a learning process. I know, at least for me, and um, that's just what's coming to top of mind. Like I could do a serious deep dive in my records and like pull out all the other themes that have been present in my world, but ultimately throughout the adventures of different things that have transpired and unfolded, there have been a lot of like dragons in the field and dragon remembrance, lots of like dragon eggs and rebirth kind of energy, the inner children and galactic children and the hybrid children, have all played a part in all of these really special and important things. But I also remember witnessing some of the gritting that like not only JJ, because she's always doing a lot all the time, but also like the people around her in her circles, and then the people that she's traveled with and have gone on excursions with, and the stuff that Michael has been doing. Like a lot of the times, like it's unconscious when we do some of this stuff, but we're just, like I said, called to, oh, I think I need to take this rock over here to this fountain, and then like the rock ends up with you at a completely different location, maybe at another fountain, and then you realize, oh, this rock is coming with me to all these fountains, and so that's cool. I wonder what that's about. And it's just like a great example of walking the mystery. But I remember him telling me that the place that they went to in Castle Hill, and I don't remember the name of the exact place. You guys would probably know it if you saw a picture of it, or because she's talked about it multiple times. But there's this place that's like basically it's just like a giant um, a field. I don't know if probably is the right word, but it's a bunch of like giant boulders across this whole area, and the energy that was communicated to me about it was one of like a galactic records area, and it's almost like a lot of the boulders are like kind of split in half or they look like they're broken. It almost felt like somebody came through there with like a nunchuck or something. And like I imagined like a little ninja with a nunchuck inside a library that's like he's kind of like doing his thing. And so it was really interesting to like just follow the storylines that are in the field and see what's present. And so this idea that like 1 year later we're circling back around to, you know, bridging the frequency back to this hall of records um, during a time with that has the specific intention of like closure and completion and um, restoring our quantum, what did we say, quantum restoration, like restoring our quantum, our original blueprint at a quantum level, and then being the living, walking embodiment of that. Um, it's just like a lot of really cool things like to think about at a high level. And so, um, thanks for witnessing that and my retelling of it. I think I think the Galactic Children have a lot to say in terms of celebration and excitement and congratulating us for being the masters that we are and, walking the path of mystery that we've been called to. And they're super duper excited that we are witnessing them in the field as they've been playing with us the whole time. But the more the frequency shifts and up levels, the more we are able to consciously interact with one another and really have this beautiful, balanced co-creation in the field. So I'd love to hear what's coming up for everyone as I'm retelling this story, and thank you for witnessing that.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I was listening to you um, tell the story, on the screen behind you, there's like ballerinas and there's like kids and there's like this kind of like really cool like play frequency, like dancing melodically like in the background, and nothing is by like accident. So that was really interesting to witness. And then Christina said surprise gridding. When my husband and I first got together, we started driving west of Denver, and we stayed in places from there to Glen Springs for months and exploring the night sky in areas with really low light pollution. I still have a rock from the Colorado River along that route. It's interesting that you mentioned the Colorado River because we have a connection to the Colorado River um, too. Like in Moab, the Colorado River flows directly through Moab, and we spent some time there at the first, second, and third of July after our Four Corners kind of meet up for some integration, and then it was supposed to be for integration, but it really turned into kind of like this galactic activation slash remembrance frequency, and there was integration that happened. I mean, we're always integrating, and I love that you kind of retold some of the themes from this last year, because it's like what was coming through for me, not specifically the themes, but like when I'm thinking about like, and I've had to learn this value over time of like, kind of remembering and sharing gratitude and like retelling the stories and weaving those threads, right? Weaving that braid. what came through for me and what I wrote down, because I'm just kind of journaling as we're going along here, because there's like a lot of great stuff that's coming in. Um, Two is like remembering like what were the lessons learned, or maybe what were the best practices, because we're all kind of doing our grid work in many different ways, right? All the way up, like multidimensionally, all the way down into um, the quantum field, and we're all kind of following our most aligned path from our higher self or our highest self, our oversoul collective, and we're all getting these really cool lessons along the way, and that's what I love about getting on the grid play calls, getting on all the different Zoom calls we have, even within the community of JJ, is that we get to kind of share and weave these stories together, and kind of like you notice these similar patterns or themes coming up. So that's what I was kind of remembering. And if you're listening to this playback, you know, kind of like really sitting with that gratitude, like in our heart space, for all of the different things over the last year that has happened to us. And I know it's not like New Year's, but you know, we have the Galactic New Year. Just like play with the idea that time isn't linear. You know, remember when you were a kid, and the summers would just go on. They would just go on, and they seemed like they would never end. You know, and you were just having like so much fun, and you were out of school, and in my house, you just had to be home as the sun set. That was the one rule that we had. Well, you couldn't hurt anybody because we were boys. So we were hurting each other constantly. That was like the main thing. Don't hurt anybody, and then two, be home before like sundown. But I was just thinking about, for me, I'll just share a story real quick and I'll turn it back over. The last year, October of 2024, I was still in the military, and I deployed to where I was stationed at, which is overseas in the Middle East, which is essentially not to be like vulgar or violent or anything, but I was deployed in the middle of the active war zone there, the country that I was in. So I was deployed to a place that I couldn't leave. You weren't allowed to like leave the area. So my life revolved around essentially a 1 square mile that I was able to traverse. You could take the bus over to the other side, but like really I lived within a 1 square mile. So for me, this 6-month period that I was there was like super activating. I set an intention before I left to kind of really lock in a way and do some like grid play, do some grid work, really kind of up level my personal like soul frequency, to weave with all of my friends that I had established and met online. And then I felt intuitively that I wanted to call in some more friends to play with. And I set that intention before I left, which was in October. And very soon afterwards, towards the end of the year, towards the beginning of 2025, all of these magical things started moving and shifting for me energetically. But there was this huge paradox, because the life that I'm living in the 3D, the life that I'm living every single day, is a very dense, militaristic war timeline. But I'm feeling this significant shift within my spirit, within my body, within my soul. I'm having all of these really magical people start to pop up online, and we're starting to co-create, and things are really starting to accelerate for me spiritually. So that was one of the big themes that I was gridding and weaving on for 6 months of the last year. So yeah, thanks for witnessing me in that remembrance. And so many things have happened even within the last 3 months. And I just want to say, like, as we got ready to leave for Egypt, we were preparing quite a bit, doing a lot of different things with all the friends in our community, even some in-person gridding and weaving frequency as well, leading up to heading and then to Kemet, which is Egypt, and then meeting a bunch of like 20 plus magical people in and I'm sure some of them are listening to the playback right now. Like, it was just so activating, so amazing, so high frequency. Meeting all of you in person, and then weaving with you and getting to know you, and yeah, getting kind of a peek into not only the energetics, but like who you are as a fully embodied, full spectrum human being. And I really do just love that so much, and I cherish that. And I just want to say like how grateful I am for all the really cool people that I met over the last year. And yeah, looking forward to continuing to co-create with you. So thank you. I'm complete on that.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I think it's been a big year for all of us, and just being reminded that it's, the 9 year is a year of completion, and so it makes sense for us to be, seeing things unfold the way that we have, and then what a beautiful thing it is for us to be consciously like bringing that full circle, bringing it to closure, into completion. And so I'm just honored and grateful for the opportunity to not only be a part of this um, adventure, but also to support, those of us that are driving it in our own ways. And so, circling back to the intention for today, which is pre-gridding of the Galactic Historians Conference, part 3 of 3. I'm hearing. Well, first of all, I pulled a few cards, and for anybody that's new to this call, like it's the vibe is a lot like what JJ's bringing to the table with her new weaving series, the weekly weaving calls. It's meant to be super interactive and just really fun, and everybody like feel free to chime in with their own like codes and intuition and things that are coming through. We play with cards, and any intuitive tool that is helpful to you or that helps you bring things through your channel, please feel free to utilize that and or bring them forward in whatever way feels most aligned. But I'm just pulling, I just pulled a few cards here as we're thinking on the theme and what wants to step forward to help shine light on the spectrum for us as we walk through this process. And this is a deck, let's see, this is the Archangel Animal deck by Diana Cooper. So they're like kind of animal spirit guardians, and I was just asking what animals are most aligned to helping us to support this process, this coming full circle and bringing everything into completion. And the rabbit says, recognize your significance. The snake says, live according to your divine essence. And the swan is demonstrate grace and majesty. So I love that grace is coming out for us multiple times. Um, there is a lot of majesty vibe to the big picture of everything that we've talked about so far. And so just witnessing that frequency light up in the field as well. And I feel like we've done a lot of chatting about the Galactic Children and about our ancient future selves, and this energy of the three-eye Atlas interstellar object that's flying through our solar system. I feel like there's something that wants to be seen or channeled into from that place. And I don't know if that looks like maybe they have a message to drop into this container for our intended purpose, or just something to share. So I'm kind of feeling called to just like tap into that energy and see what wants to step forward.
Yeah, I'll put on some music and maybe we could open the field
Yeah.
officially.
So just centering our awareness in our heart space.
And Christina said, as you said that, a bridge image appeared right behind you. I think we're co-channeling with this digital screen in a way. That's really interesting. I like
I'm
that.
telling you, I co-channel with my field all the time. So thank you for witnessing what's in my behind me. Because I'm kind of looking elsewhere. But yeah, that's how information shows up for me. So I appreciate all the levels of co-collaboration that's taking place here. So with that level of gratitude at top of mind, center of heart, let's just anchor deeply into our breath, feeling our breath flowing through our heart space like a waterfall of love, light, grace, majesty, nothing fully embodying our divine essence. As we recognize the significance of our shared collaboration, breathing out love and gratitude, and sending it from our hearts down through our bodies, down through our roots, through our Earth Star chakra, all the way down into the planet, Mother Earth, Mama Gaia, crystalline arm antenna, with all versions of herself, all that is, through our love, our strategy, heart room with Mother Sophia, allowing the light to radiate through the void in ways that are perfectly aligned for us and the highest good of it all. And that infinite love, light energy into our central channel, the spinal column, pulling it directly from source all the way through the cosmos and into our field, through our crown chakra, through that circuit of light, fully light into our field directly from source, and send it down into the grids, and all the way through all the layers, and then to the voids of our in that bridge, full circle, hearing Alpha and Omega, the ends and the beginning, the beginnings and the end. As we just rest in that 0 point stillness, that area that merges and coalesces with beginning and end. Anchoring still points in between, to embody and radiate a level of light like anything we've ever seen. Radiating it through our whole bodies, through our multidimensional awareness, bringing all parts of us into this now moment with us, into our heart. Allowing this light to flow into our spinal column. We fully embody it together. Body once more to the breath. Begin to tap into the frequency of the Galactic Children. What is most aligned to step forward today? The energy of divine representation through our divine essence, connecting with our pure consciousness, highest, purest essence, fully, deeply, and completely embodying our unapologetic authenticity at every layer of our being. Love and gratitude to all the parts of us that have come home to us now. Bring into that field of unity consciousness within us with unconditional love, radical acceptance, and the depth of grace through the peace that passes all understanding. And so it is.
What was coming through for me was, Christina, feel free to chime in whenever feels most aligned for you. Just kind of co-channel on these calls. What was the name? It was HB, Home Base. Is that right? Yeah, Home Base. Is that what we're saying? That's in the asteroid belt that we were kind of channeling, because as I was looking towards Three Eye Atlas, kind of within the lens of, and you'll just have to indulge me on this, of like within the lens of the Galactic Children frequencies, because when we say Galactic Children, that's all we're talking about, all of the Galactic Children. So the Indigo Children, Rainbow, Prismatic, Dragon, Hybrid Children, our own inner children, inviting them into the space. And also within the lens of, as we talked about in the last grid play call, there's something that just hits different about working from a space, whether it is the, and Christina, we talked about, we started in the sun's radiance room. So this is a space that essentially you go there either astrally, with your astral body, you can remote view there. For me, it's a combination of different things. Some people travel in their etheric body because they don't really travel in their astral body. So whatever feels most resonant for you. But where I'm going with this is that as I was channeling into Three Eye Atlas, I found myself at this place that the home base is a collective that has stepped forward to assist us. They came through months ago that we channeled them, but they've stepped forward to assist us in this collective. There is a feminine, a very divine feminine frequency, very radiant frequency, who is kind of like the public affairs person who represents this collective. And their headquarters is what I was calling it, but we've since then kind of tuned into the frequency of like a home base. They are a collective that is in the asteroid belt. So I found myself, as we're tuning into Three Eye Atlas within the lens of the Galactic Children, I found myself sitting in this home base space. I'm putting sitting in quotes, because when you have like a very attuned place to go and channel from or work from, that's just where I found myself intuitively as I was feeling into the frequency of Three Eye Atlas. And it was interesting because as I looked, or as I was doing some channeling, kind of searching in a way for a message or what we're talking about here, I saw the Galactic Children like riding inside of Three Eye Atlas, and I was like, oh, they're inside. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then they're like, yeah, like why wouldn't we be? Because like we're everywhere. We're co-creating on like many different levels, layers, and dimensions. So like I was like, oh, what are you guys doing in here? And they're in there, and they're just like riding along, and like one of them was like steering, doing the navigator thing. It was really fun, like really interesting to notice that, because I haven't really channeled Three Eye directly, Three Eye Atlas, the comet directly. So yeah, just like opening the field in a way. I just wanted to share that.
I'm really glad you did, because thank you for saying that. I wasn't sure like what to make of it, or even like how to bring it up. But what I was seeing was, and I wasn't thinking about it in terms of Three Eye Atlas, but what I saw was a bunch of like kids running around what looked to me like a spaceship. And I was like, well, this is interesting. Why do we have kids running around on a ship? What's going on here? That's about like all I got to that point. And so that's really interesting synchronicity that maybe we're picking up on something similar there. So
yeah, they're also saying the very first message I got as I was connecting to the Galactic Children was they were saying, use your light language or toning, singing, humming, buzzing, whatever it is that you open your channel with and that you use to attune and calibrate. They're encouraging that. They're like, hey, just a reminder. They don't say just a reminder, that's my interpretation. But for me, it's a reminder to speak light language out loud into the field. And feel free to, if you want to speak it on this call, it's not distracting at all. I'll probably speak some here just to kind of open it in a minute. But yeah. And lately we've been doing a lot of like clicking. I'm doing like, it's not clicking, I'm doing something a little bit different. Mine sounds slightly different. It's like I have a tune in my head that I'm kind of going along with, but I'm it's a different version of clicking. But I'm going along with a tune in my head. So like, it's like that's kind of what it's like. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's like it's not quite clicking, but it's like, I guess, buzzing, or I don't know. There's no real need to like put a label on it. I know that like it's just one of the things that's yeah,
I'm hearing somebody say like a lot of times like we get so focused on like the sounds and the the quote unquote words like of whatever dialect, like specifically around the light language. Like I feel like this is a I've seen it be a hang up for some people in certain circumstances where it's like we we it's like I'm glad you mentioned like having it go to a song, because I'm being reminded that like there's so many layers and aspects to like a song, that it's not just about the words. It's not about, the sounds or, how you say them or what dialect. It's like the songs start with like the sounds and the vibrations and the percussion, and there's lots of different layers that um, we're being called to remember. It's not all about the words. When we talk about light language, and maybe that's why we associate it with words, because we call it light language, and language kind of alludes to words, like sounds in words. Um, but yeah, that's a great reminder. Like clicking, whistling, humming, knocking on the table. Like these are all sounds that create vibration in the field. And so getting creative with our use of sound and vibration is a great way to not only expand like the frequency that we're putting into the field, but also give us a means and method to play with those sounds and um, expand ourselves within that process as well.
Yeah, Christina said, when you said just a reminder, I saw the little sea turtle from Finding Nemo giving instructions. Fun and high energy. What was his name? Type it into the chat if you remember, or leave a comment
Squirt.
below.
Was
Squirt!
it? I think it
And
was
Christina replied, it was. Squirt
yay.
it! His dad was like Crush, I think. Is that right?
That sounds right, yeah.
Dude, yeah. And then she said also,
Oh.
sound songs all carry so much. Yeah, Crush. Um,
Mr. Turtle was my father. The name's Crush, and this is Squirt. I remember now.
and that's a good thing too, because when we think of the Galactic Children, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you traditionally would categorize as the Galactic Children. Maybe it is Squirt, or maybe it is these other children from other galactic families that are stepping forward, and maybe they're not human. Maybe they're oh, my light turned off. Maybe they're like
Maybe
Squirt. You
that's
know
a
what I mean?
sign.
And as you were talking earlier, behind you, like a kid was like holding these little, like, it looks like sparklers, but it looked like he was holding like flares. And I was like, why is a child holding a flare? It was red. I'm sure it's a sparkler, or like a really adult sparkler. But it reminded me of, like, you were talking specifically about the sounds and stuff. It reminded me that a lot of these things in talking about songs or sound is like, it's also frequency. So there's light that plays into it. When you pluck a string on a guitar, or when you strum a string, like with like playing violin, just think about all the different things that are happening for that sound to reverberate into space. And that's kind of what I was getting from Three Eye Atlas too, is like, the human we can only perceive a certain frequency, and it's not like a large bandwidth of frequency that we can actually like hear. So I was seeing like a 3-eye reaching out in like many different, transmitting, I guess is the word, in many different ways.
Can you imagine a spaceship full of just a bunch of Disney characters of all species? And that sounds like the best time ever. Sign me up.
Christina says, so cool to think about. I just started learning viola and the ukulele. I'm guessing that's the violin and ukulele.
The viola is like a smaller
Viola.
version of the violin, yeah. From my recollection.
Oh, she said viola is a little bigger.
Oh, just kidding. I had those backwards.
um, yeah, so as we're thinking about the theme of the galactic, but it sits against the throat, is what she said for the viola. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thinking of that theme of the Galactic Historians Conference, as JJ is, this is, perfect thirds comes up again. We were talking about perfect thirds on Monday. If you've had a chance to watch the replay or you just read the transcript, from all of our otter friends that join us, maybe you're just listening to the transcript in the car or something like that. We were talking about perfect thirds. So the perfect third of the Galactic Historian Conference, as JJ is traveling to New Zealand and Australia. We participated in the first series, and then in the second series, we've done some pre-gridding before each session that she holds. And for the second of the series, we were actually in Colorado, Christina, for 8/8, visiting our friend Tatiana, who hops on the grid play calls from time to time. She invited us out for the 8/8, and we spent, I think it was like a week roughly. We were staying in Golden, Colorado. That's where our Airbnb was. So we were staying about 30 to 45 minutes away. And the frequency of Golden, Colorado, which is very interesting, aligned, but interesting with the demon frequency that happens at the high school, which we were taken aback by, but we gridded nonstop while we were there. The demon den. I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah, well, just to be clear about that, the high school mascot of Golden High School is the Golden Demons, if that wasn't clear. And it's less than a half a block away from like one of the primary manufacturing plants of, I think it was Coors beer. And so there was a lot of interesting frequencies going on in that cute little town.
Cute town, but huge Coors facility that, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many blocks. It was massive. It was the miles of just like beer frequency, and then we were gridding it like late at night, and we drove by it, and we happened to be, I think it was the loading area where we passed. It's right on the road, and this like putrid smell just like permeated. Like, I mean, it was terrible, the smell that was coming out of this place that we were driving by. Like, it was so bad.
Yeah, we ended up coming around the back side of it, and kind of unknowingly, like just gridding and like just doing what we do, and like just coming off of this road and into like where all the trucks go, and we're like, oh crap, are we supposed to be here? Why are we here? But there must have been a reason we were gridding it.
Yeah, Christina says, a different way to experience the vibrations, in parentheses, y'all are way too much fun to just read the transcript. Appreciate that. Nice. Golden is, yes, interesting, so cute in some spots. I agree, very cute in some spots. They have a really interesting, what is it, like county building, some type of county building there with a giant planet that sits on the top of it. Oddly shaped building, looks nothing like any of the other buildings. And then 4 pillars that are kind of connected to the center of this building with like small little like planets on that with like a ring around the planet. And you're like, man, this county building doesn't look like any of the other buildings around it. It's kind of set apart, so it's set away from a bunch of the other buildings off by itself. And you're like, this building just has a very galactic feeling to this building, which we noticed immediately as we drove through the town on our initial like gridding excursion. We left a bunch of mineral friends there, did a bunch of like Sasquatch gridding, some spiral gridding. On the top of our Airbnb was sitting on this road that like spiraled up. It was really, really interesting and like super aligned in many different ways. But yeah, that kind of bridges back to what we were talking about, the Galactic Historians, where we were channeling into kind of the frequency of that building I mentioned. We connected a honeycomb pillar of light as we were gridding the greater kind of like, is Denver? Yeah, Denver's like the larger city that's kind of close by. And we dropped a honeycomb pillar of light, and we were connecting kind of that area that we were staying in and like West Denver-ish, bridging back to where we were staying at in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and just kind of like connecting all of the very galactic frequencies, even though it is like planetary in a way because we're gridding like these physical locations that we get called to. And I'm sure if you're watching this, leave us a comment on all of the places that you've gridded and that you feel kind of drawn to, because as grid workers or light workers or star seeds, we get called to these different kind of cool places, knowingly or unknowingly, and you intuitively just kind of like follow these little quests, and you get to kind of tap in and do our gridding and like, you know, send these rainbow bridges from the U.S. out to like New Zealand, or the U.S. out to Australia, or we're bridging like, you know, Sedona to Uluru, Yellowstone, where we visited in July, and sending that frequency out to like Egypt, where we were at in September. So yeah, very, very galactic. Have you been to Boulder or Manitou Springs in Colorado? That's a good question. I think Leni was in Boulder. Were you in Boulder?
It sounds familiar. When was I in Boulder? It all kind of
We
becomes
drove
a
up.
blur after a while.
Wait, we drove
Yeah.
up, didn't we? We
Oh
drove
yeah,
up.
yeah. That's
That's
right.
what
I
it was.
remember. Yep. Okay. In fact, we did a whole loop around the entire Denver like metro area. So we went all the way around the outside loop, um, from Golden like down to the like southeast, and then up. I don't remember the names of the roads or anything, but we circled all the way back around to Boulder, which is just north of Golden. We literally did a whole loop around the entire outside of Denver.
She said, did you drive into the mountains at all? Absolutely.
Yeah, we were back and forth from a little town called Evergreen. And so a little bit further west up into the mountains and a little bit south. And it was absolutely gorgeous. Colorado's always given me magical vibes. So it was really great to connect there. And there's something about I posted a TikTok video in the Grid Play Telegram yesterday that was this girl that was kind of channeling into the energy of Three Eye Atlas, and she had a number of really good diagrams that she put onto the screen while she was sharing this video. And one in particular I'm thinking of is it looks like a donut. It's like the torus field of, like, as we expand our awareness with our gridding, at least for me, like for me it's been expanding on like an inside out kind of way, or like a bottom up kind of way, where I've been envisioning like my own torus field. And then as my awareness expanded, I began to envision the Earth's torus field, and then the sun, kind of with the torus field around our solar system. And so my awareness has been progressing in kind of that direction in terms of the physics of the celestial bodies, and how our energy works and how it processes, like from that level. And so the diagram that she showed was a diagram of the universe's toroidal field, and it has the great central sun in the very center. And then there's like different rings that are orbiting through this torus field, and our solar system is one of them. But kind of the point that she's making is that Three Eye Atlas is making a pathway through, like a very specific and dedicated and like intentional pathway through this torus field as it shares energy and modulates frequency. um there's something about the way that it's moving um and modulating that is like anchoring almost like higher level consciousness in a way. And I think it's really interesting that the gridding that we were called to do on 8/8 of this year uh, had to do with what feels like creating an energetic anchor um, on the top of Centaur Mountain, is what we were told it's called. And this beautiful infinity symbol that we created with these concentric circles and like 3 tons of glacier white river rock. And so just all these different elements were like coming into play, like stuff about the ice melting, the different aspects of us that are ready to integrate and like reintegrate and remember. Um, but there's something about that. Also, we were doing some channeling while we were there, and there was something about like because the centaur is like the half man, half horse, right? And so we're at the top of Centaur Mountain, and we're having this beautiful experience, and we're channeling, and the cosmic whales are coming through, and the dolphins, and they're all talking to each other, and they're giving us messages. But what I saw was the centaur kind of take his arrow and shoot his arrow at the grid that we did, almost like he was shooting into this like infinity portal thing. But then like there was slack in his rope, and so he was kind of like the dolphins and the whales were helping him kind of pull that tight, for whatever reason. Like that's what I saw at that time. And so I'm just being reminded that like there's many layers of what's happening right now with the adjustment of the energy and the calibration of the frequency, and that something about like what we're doing is very specific to the energy of like anchoring. It's like as if the Atlas brings a level of consciousness upgrade availability. And obviously, this is a free will zone, whatever you want to call that. And so, not everyone, like, it's not a forced thing. Like, this new frequency and higher level of consciousness, however you want to frame that, is just an availability option. But those of us that are attuned to the process of, the evolution that we're kind of going through are being called to anchor it in different ways. And so tying that back to Australia and New Zealand, I keep coming back to Castle Hill as this hall of records. And the other thing that's been coming through for me a lot lately has been the idea of working with the Akash, but kind of on a different scale, because it's like every living thing has their own personal Akash. Um, Collectives have an Akash, planets have an Akash, and there's this level of unification that's come into my awareness as we talk about the unified field and what it really means to ground and anchor and embody that. And so the idea is like taking all of those akashas across all that is and combining it really into one like grand celestial library, almost like an open source library that anybody can access. That it reminds me of like I don't know if you guys are like familiar with or aware of what the little free library is, but like you can essentially order this little, like it almost looks like a birdhouse kind of wooden box, and you can put books in it, and you just put it in your yard. And so as people are walking by, the idea is, if you take a book, return a book, or like donate a book or whatever it is. And so you just have this constant circulation of books, and it's just like this little open source privately managed like library system. And I think that's really interesting and really cool. And to take that idea to a cosmic scale, like what if okay, this is just an idea that just dropped in. What if Three Eye Atlas is a little free library project and it's coming to like give us the template for, our solar system to be a part of the little free library system, because we have a lot of really interesting wisdom and knowledge and awareness here. And so that's a cute little fun idea that's dropping in, is just anchoring with the energy of higher level consciousness as we bridge um, into the idea of like a larger sharing of our resources, our wisdom, our knowledge, our embodiment through the unified field, as we really connect and learn how to interact in different ways, in new ways, in across all of our magic, both seen and unseen.
It was so interesting as you're talking. The field is co-creating with all of us that are listening on this call. And behind you, as you're talking about the introduction of the idea of a kind of collective Akash, there's like a rainbow frequency that like is popping up on the screen, and then it's like trailing across the screen, and then it's like building at the top, and then it's flowing to the bottom as you're kind of like walking us through kind of this updated frequency to what we we know like the Akash is, right? And again, this is spirituality in air quotes, like the Akash, the galactic Akash, the planetary Akash, but there is an updated frequency to this, and you share that too about as we're channeling kind of the galactic historians. And JJ's bringing it through, and then Christina mentioned, yes, I was having the same idea that you were talking about, the template potluck vehicle, and JJ is kind of, as one of the way showers that we weave with in her community, and our friends that are listening to this on the playback or weaving with us in the astral, who are in community with us as well, and that we are weaving with, daily, if not every other day, when the grid play calls come up. Being open to receive that weaving of the templates, and JJ had mentioned, and Christina had mentioned, and you had mentioned too. It's like we're kind of like, okay, we're light workers, this is great, or just the frequency of grid working, but now we are bringing our templates forward, and we're exchanging those keys, and we're exchanging those templates, and just like the frequency of the free library, where we're exchanging our books, we're exchanging our Akash, right? Whether it's consciously or unconsciously, or maybe I'm strolling through your neighborhood, walking my dog, and I'm getting codes and templates that way, or maybe the birds that you are gridding with are singing to me, and they're activating me and my dog, or like they're activating the books, and then I'm picking up a book, or maybe just being in the field, period, right? We were in Colorado. We didn't know Christina when we were in Colorado, but we were like literally so close to you, right? But we were in the field, kind of co-creating together, and we were called to Colorado by another very magical light warrior, Tatiana, who's like a friend of ours that we met from the community. So all of this just weaves in a very quantum and a very like aligned, very like rainbow prismatic, very galactic frequency. So that's what I got.
Well, speaking of co-creating in the field, I just looked over here for a second, and it's some kind of health company, but it's called Artemis Health. And that Artemis was a theme earlier. I think it's what Michael dubbed the Mexico gridding excursion from like March when they went to Teotihuacan and a bunch of other places, the Yucatan Peninsula. So something about, I don't know, something about Artemis is like knocking on kind of the back door as I'm like um witnessing whatever just happened over there. But there was this guy that stepped out of the front door, and he's in his t-shirt and he's wearing, remember, the field is co-creating with us. So he's got this t-shirt on, and all I saw at first was a rainbow and a floppy disk. Do you guys remember floppy disks from the 90s, 80s, and 90s when computers were still brand new? So he had this floppy disk on his t-shirt, and it says, I keep all my dad jokes in a data base. It's a picture of the floppy disk. And I don't really know why that's so funny, other than it's a little bit of a throwback. And, this concept of a library and data and how we store it and how we share it. And so maybe it's just a nod to like some of those inner processes, or maybe even higher level awarenesses. It feels a little bit like one of those like double entendre kind of things, but it was just so cute and funny the way that unfolded. There was something about dad jokes. I think we were in the Red Sea with JJ and a small group of people that were on the trip with us. We split up about let's see, we were together for 10 days, and then only about a third of us continued on in actually maybe it was half, it was roughly half, continued on to the Red Sea for some integration time at a really nice beach resort place. And anyway, Michael didn't come with us on the extended Red Sea integration part of the trip. Um, but I'm I had this cute, funny moment with JJ where she was like, "Oh my gosh, it's like Michael's still here," because I threw out what I thought was a pretty funny joke, but I guess it was more like a dad joke. And then, so I don't know. There's something happening in the field about jokes and data and through our library. Almost like, oh my gosh, what would it be like to have an unlimited database on all the dad jokes that ever were, like across all of consciousness? Like, think about that for a second. All planets, all galaxies. There'd probably be a lot in there that we didn't like really understand or have context for. But I think that would be a fun database to explore all the dad jokes across all that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Christina said, Psi unifying. I love seeing it all to come together. This concept feels lovely. Yeah, the dad jokes hit. I am a dad, so for me, dad jokes hold a very um, special place in my heart. My daughters, they may feel differently. You know, it's a very niche. Like you can hit on like 1 out of 10 dad jokes. It'll come through a line. But I thought it was very interesting. Christina said she's a fan of the nerdy jokes, dad jokes too. Yay, high five. Um, the concept of like the disc that you bring up is really fun and interesting as the field co-creates with us on, you know, Three Eye Atlas, the Galactic Children, the concept of the Galactic Historians in a way, because it reminds me of how we've up-leveled our frequency over the years, you know, and even when we started out, like if you want to, a lot of times we'll use like computer-related stuff when we're explaining things, you know, the little floppy disks. People think of like the small ones, but they started out as like these huge things that are kind of like, you know, pretty good size. Like they were pretty large back in the day. And then you put it into your little Mac, and then you could play like Oregon Trail. That was like one of the first games when I was a kid. And now, granted, I'm probably a little bit older, but like we would put it into the thing, go to the library, and you could play Oregon Trail, and then typically, like 99% of the time, you died of dysentery on the Oregon Trail because you would just run out of food or water or whatever. But it was always, yeah, it was a very frustrating game because you just, you know, sometimes you would win, most of the time you wouldn't. But as we've up-leveled spiritually, you know, thinking about the concept of the Galactic Historians, and we started out with these huge floppy disks, right? And then we got the smaller floppy disks, and then eventually they had like these really large CDs that were like, we had records, right? And then you had CDs, and you had 8-tracks. And then the large CDs turned into small CDs, and then the small CDs turned into like HD CDs, where it could like play both sides at the same time. And then eventually like those went away, and we went on to just like straight up like actual memory on our computers. But I feel like there's a movie or something. I feel like that guy, like I'm the type of dad who would like, you know, you have the like Walkman and you have your disc in there, and then you have the like the plug-in headsets that would plug into that. And then like you would have like the anti-skip, like when you were a kid, like when I was a teenager, this was a thing, and you could get the anti-skip, and that was like, it wouldn't skip if you like walked or jiggled the actual thumb drives were like magic. Christina said, remember that as well. She was a Walkman child and a Discman teenager, same as me. So I think
my
we're
God.
all in the 80s.
Well, so my Walkman, my Walkman looked like a little super handheld Super Mario video game. The screen didn't actually work. It didn't actually play games. It was just a novelty thing, but my Walkman was a very gamified experience. My favorite one anyways. It wasn't the only one I had, but yeah, I was the same. Let's see, I had a few other cards come out. From the animals, the cow with unconditional love and grace, the sheep acting with fortitude and cooperation, the dove spreading messages of peace and harmony. So it almost goes back to this idea that we've been sort of touching on here and there, and I'm not sure if we went over it in detail on this call, and if not, that's okay. I'll just sort of tap on it really quick. It's like the idea that like all the war timelines um, had to play out in their own way for a certain time, but almost there came a point where it's like we won the war, but then like the message didn't get delivered everywhere. And so little bits of those war timelines continued to play out because the people that were affected by those energies were still like so programmed and attuned and aligned with the frequency that created it, which is the frequency of fear, lack, scarcity, all of the things that we perceive as like quote unquote negative, but still play their place and have a role. But the idea is like we're at a stage now where we're fully anchoring and embodying that victory energy that it's almost like, and I had this moment of recognition not that long ago where it was like I was remembering my roots in a way. Like I remember, I don't know if you guys can hear that song. It's really loud for some reason. But there's where I am is playing music in the background. And it's CeeLo. The song that just came on is CeeLo, I Think I'm Crazy. And the song starts out with I remember, I remember. Right as I was saying I remember. So I'm sorry, I let it get me off track here. But it feels like a confirmation of remembrance of something accurate, which is like remembering essentially my origin story galactically, which is I feel like my parents created a being that would go and help deliver the message to the rest of everywhere that the war is over, you guys. And lately that's been part of what's coming into my awareness is that energy of like delivering the message, helping the remembrance to spread, updating the records, and like just allowing that to build a new energy, build a new story, build a new level of play. Um, and so as we're thinking about these themes with regard to Free Eye Atlas, like it's just kind of I have this energy washing over me that's like feels like confirmation. That's like, yeah, yeah, that's what we're doing. We came to help you remember that it's over and we actually won and we get to start over now. So like let's all hop on that bandwagon together. I just feel a huge expansion in the field as this is kind of sifting through our awareness and landing in a way. I'm just kind of feeling into like what would that look like? What would it look like for our whole world to just like suddenly come like all come to this conclusion at the same time? Like and this is just for the purposes of exploration for this conversation, right? Because we don't know how it's gonna play out or what's gonna happen. But ultimately, like how cool would it be if we all just like had this moment of realization together and then we just like decided like all of the stuff that's no longer working for us in the world and just like work together like for once to like actually be a team, like a cohesive, collaborative team globally, like one world human is like such an awesome thing to imagine. And like what would it actually look like to live in a world with that level of peace and grace and unconditional love and radical acceptance. And I forgot to mention that on the bottom of the deck is butterfly, be ready to transform with wisdom, which feels very aligned for this topic as we explore it. So thanks for
Yeah,
noticing that.
that's very in line with our theme of like quantum restoration, reharmonization, um, that butterfly like frequency, three-eye atlas. The timing is like essentially like very, very well timed. It'll be sometime in, I think, October when it'll pass. It'll pass us, just for the record keepers in the chat or watching this. It's the 2nd of October today, so we're on our 2nd day of October. And even in the theme of thinking about the theme of the Galactic Historians Conference, Christina said, I love the scene you painted in my heart, and you asking what it would be like, and I heard, let's find out, exclamation point.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
And I was thinking about, for the Galactic Historians, and even in terms of the Galactic Akash or 3i, you know, if these themes or words that you're hearing aren't like super familiar, feel free to leave a comment, because we would love to like chat with you and co-create with you on these different like frequencies that we're talking about, because you know, these themes are these aren't small concepts. These concepts are like very, very multidimensional concepts when you're talking about the Galactic Akash or the Galactic Historians. We've even started recently weaving with our galactic harmonisticians, the galactic multidimensional soul aspects of us that are harmonisticians, harmonizers, you know. So having access to the Galactic Akash or your personal Akash is great. You can channel it. You can, you know, book sessions with other people who can help you tap into that frequency. But just a reminder, too, that we don't need anybody. You're already completely whole as you are hearing this transmission, this remembrance frequency, as 3i Atlas traverses our solar system and begins to pass Earth, and as the Galactic Children are here ready and willing to play with you and willing to co-create with you and willing to channel with you and have fun with you and your inner child as well. Like we come fully whole, fully activated. We just put on this little veil of forgetting, and we forget stuff to play this little game of breadcrumbs with our higher selves, right? Where it's like, okay, let me activate myself, and then let me follow these cool little breadcrumbs on this side quest so I can you know, remember and up-level and assist humanity with this frequency that we're all kind of like weaving together. We're all kind of remembering together. We're all kind of like walking this ascension path together. And what was shown to me is essentially, Leni mentioned the mermaid, like remembrance, right? The mermaid, the mer person, male or female or androgynous frequency of the mer people, and that's been really relevant for me in the field, and it's been relevant since Kemet and going to the Red Sea and working with the galactic dolphins and the galactic whales and the galactic turtles and tortoises. They've been really weaving with us in so many different ways, but as the mermaid frequency, the mer person frequency of remembrance, what I keep getting shown as I'm tapping in and channeling, is I keep getting shown, like, you know, maybe this resonates with you, but imagine like my background is the hair of the mermaid, right? Our multidimensional soul aspect that is a mermaid, right? Or mer person, mermale or female. And like I have a soul aspect that is a mermaid, a feminine mermaid, very long hair. And what I keep getting shown is like weaving these golden threads, or these threads that could be any of the colors of the prismatic, right, of the rainbow here, weaving these threads like into our hair. And these threads is kind of like what is connecting us multidimensionally to all of these different lives that we have, you know. You could use the threads as like all the way back to like the Galactic Akash or your Galactic Historian, but like those different threads, those different frequencies, those different records are readily available, and I keep getting shown to like braid it into my hair, right? I don't have like a man bun yet. I'm working on it. I think I'm only like three and a half months into working my man bun. So put into the chat if I should continue to grow my man bun or not. But just weaving these threads into our hair, and I've been shown that like several times recently. So yeah, definitely let me know if that frequency resonates with you.
Oh, that's really interesting because you know what I've been seeing is like like you know how you have freckles on your skin? Like I've been seeing those freckles like kind of upgrade in the level of light, and so almost they become luminescent. So that's, I mean, the tying the threads of luminescence into the hair like fits right in line with that. Like I see our whole body lighting up in a whole new way, based on those up level frequencies. So yeah, that totally resonates for me. And I just wanted to, so I pulled a message from the Isis deck just to see like what she wanted to say, like in closing, uh, like coming, uh, just bringing our intentions full circle, uh, with this intention of like completion and quantum restoration. And so I'll just show you what came through. It's a beautiful deck, by the way. It's called The Isis Oracle by Alana Fairchild, who does a lot of really great decks. And the messages on these cards are proper burial for freedom, which talks about releasing that which no longer serves us. And so allowing that which no longer needs to be a part of our life, to melt away so that we may be truly free. The Lady of the Stars talks about Sirius as a celestial goddess, a star of unconditional love and wisdom and an extremely high vibration, bringing deep soul awakening, spiritual gifts, and a high capacity for divine service. Asking us to pay attention now because something significant is taking place at a spiritual level for us at this time. With the scales of balance, just reminding us that give and take, directing and flowing, play and solitude are ways to heal the relationship between the inner masculine and feminine energies. And connection with the body is the most powerful form of healing for the feminine energy as it holds the secrets to divine feminine wisdom. So dance, sing, and play, and be in our true childlike nature, as well as stay true and be in your power, reminding us that we are sovereign divine beings with spiritual authority and freedom within. So we don't need permission from anyone to be who we are. It's our divine birthright, and to guard it as the precious treasure that it is, and remember that you are a divine being free to be you. So just remembering those nuggets of wisdom as we prepare to close out for today, and just seeing like so much love and gratitude, and expansion populate in the field, as well as we think about JJ's trip to Australia and New Zealand. And I don't actually know if they'll be setting foot on Uluru, but it would be really amazing to like learn that. And so just holding space for all that will transpire there to unfold in its perfect alignment with divine love and divine grace, ease and flow, and perfect harmony across all the timelines, across all the days. And I'm not really sure why I'm feeling called to like walk around, but I'm just gonna take you guys on a little walk while we wind down here.
Yeah, do you mind? I'm going to read the responses here from Christina that she wrote into the chat. And
Yeah,
thank you, Christina, for just being responsive in the chat. We deeply appreciate that. She put, smiley face braiding my hair. My grandpa was fond of saying, let me show you a little trick I've learned from the Indians, the Tuwa Indian. I've heard it elsewhere too, to be intentional. The thoughts you hold in your mind while you braid, because you're braiding those energies into the braids and will carry them with you throughout your day. I love that. So being intentional while braiding. Being intentional is amazing. And I often woke with many little braids in my hair because I couldn't sleep or I had a bad dream. I just make braid after braid, weaving in some whimsical dreams or music, etc. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing
Jack
your Halloween
Skellington
playlist.
saying hi. Yeah, that's a really great point of just like, I mean, we talk about being intentional about everything we do, but like, how deeply do we take that? Do we take it to that level of, um, just truly being in that heart-centered space in every single activity, every single moment, every single breath? So I think that's a great reminder. It's a great inner reflection question. That's some friendly animal energy coming in the fountain, beautiful waters.
Yeah, just acknowledging the natural elements that are out there. You got the sun codes, the water frequencies. You got the earth elements that are kind of like weaving as well. The co-creation with the field and like the music and the screen and just the overall like total vibe, even though it's like it's planetary in a way, but also like we are so galactic in like many different ways. And I like that as we're talking about that, like the rippling prismatic flag frequency in the background there too. It's like Christina said, my pleasure sitting in intention while I'm weaving has been so peaceful. Yeah, and she shared with us intentions. Yeah, she shared with us yesterday on the call. Christina shared with us the weaving that she's been doing. I think it was like a scarf, and then posted like a really cool picture under the images. So if you're watching this on the replay or on the YouTube, we kind of co-create together in the Telegram. So we would love for you to definitely, if you feel inclined, like join us. It's great to co-create with you in the frequency of YouTube or the replays, but we would really love to meet you and talk to you live and in real time. So just putting that out into the field. So many like flower codes that you're walking around with. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Really, really gorgeous, amazing day outside. And how many times do you think that you've gridded this area, if you had to guesstimate? And we'll call it in the last, like, just the last year. We were talking about the last year. Like, how many times would you say?
Well, just in the last year, at least 100. I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, that's a great question. I'm stumped. I've definitely been gritting this area, like in particular, as well as kind of the larger Salt Lake City downtown metro for, I mean, literally my whole life, um, unconsciously until I became conscious of it. And so that's another interesting frequency to remember is that we are always our true self anywhere and everywhere we go, whether or not we realize fully all of what that entails. And so I think that's a really interesting concept to think about. So it's engaging with that true freedom and what it really means to anchor and embody our deepest, truest self as we pass through this really integrative, interesting, really transformational time. So thank you for being here together. Thank you for playing with us. Do you want to go ahead and close us out?
Sure,
If you have any
absolutely.
last words, feel free to share those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like I know your record keeper. Like I it was kind of a rhetorical question because every single day that we're here we're gridding all of the areas that we walk through or partake of, and we're constantly exchanging codes with all the people around us. We're walking through each other's like auras, and we're intermingling and weaving and braiding on like many different levels and layers, and sharing our light and exchanging, these different frequencies of color, and collabing with the animals and the insects and the water, um, and as a lightworker, starseed, way shower, um, we're doing that in a very like conscious, in a very high frequency, in a very high vibration way. And I just want to encourage you, if you've made it this far into our transmission, that's kind of the frequency that Three Eye Atlas, the Galactic Children, um, that we offer you as well, the Galactic Historians too, is that we're already doing everything in the most aligned way, in the most high frequency way possible. And just that reassurance that we get to model for one another, just the ability to like, watch Leni kind of walk around and grid work and grid play and speak light language and pull cards in public and run around this fountain, and like this is, it's okay to be exactly who you are. It's okay because all of the rest of us are doing the exact same thing. Maybe we're not out in public doing it like pulling cards in the middle of, but like, highly consider that like this is the world that we're calling in. This is the world that we're going to we're already have in the now moment. So you don't have to. No longer are we like alone. We've activated the Wolfpack frequency. We've closed out of the lone wolf frequency. And we're finding one another and building community together. And we've had the honor and the privilege of meeting so many of you in person, and we look forward to having the honor and the privilege of meeting you in person if we haven't met you, but we have met many of you, and we're really, really excited about the rest of this year because it's only October. We still got a ways to go to kind of book in this year. Really excited to see what you're calling forward and to co-create and weave with you. And that excited for what Three Eye Atlas and the Galactic Children and the oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that encouragement out into the field, and yeah, I can close this out here, and then I'll turn it back over to Leni for closing thoughts. So yes, just ending our call today with deep gratitude for all the friends, family, guides, animals, councils, Galactic Children, Three Eye Atlas, home base, that stepped forward today to weave with us, to co-create with us. Sending much love to all of our friends, JJ Michael, Sharon, and all the other friends that are on their way, currently flying out to New Zealand as we speak in the now moment. Erica, our friend of ours, will be flying back before the next grid play call, so sending her our well wishes as well. Remembering our intentions earlier, Christina shared about her intention with braiding the hair remembering our own personal intention in this now moment as we're getting ready to shift and close out and in this co-creation here just for now, but just remembering your intention, taking a few moments here. Rebreathing that intention, knowing that your intention is powerful, your intention builds your reality. Thank you for all of the co-creation frequency today, calling our energy back to us, cleansed and cleared. Any energy that isn't ours, that was woven into the session, calling that back, cleansed and cleared, sending it into the void, into the 0 point, into the one station, into the, what is it, one station transmutation station? Oh, you're muted.
We called it the One Source Transmutation Station.
The one source transmutation station to be alchemized, transmuted, sending it back to source for the greater good. As we seal and integrate, you can form a symbol. I like to use the golden infinity symbol with my fingers. You can weave that. You can close this out with your breath or just your actual intention. I'm going to turn it back over to Miss Leni at this time for closing thoughts.
Thank you. To everyone for being here, participating with us, and thank you for watching, for catching the replay. It's just an honor and pleasure to be co-creating in this way. I'm very excited for the golden future that we're creating together and for the fullest, truest embodiment of all our dreams come true. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for being a part of it. And thanks for playing. And we can't wait to see you again next time. Catch us on Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific for another layer of pre-gridding for the Galactic Historian Conference. And yeah, we'll catch you when we catch you. Sending so much love.
Ciao, ciao. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.